Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited for today's video because we are talking about two of my favorite things, eyeshadow palettes and being basic. And it's practically basic season, so I feel like it is the perfect time to be filming this video. Today we're going to be talking about my top 10, but it's actually 11 because I couldn't narrow it down. So top 11 basic AF palettes in my collection. I recently saw this video done by Samantha March and I was super excited to film it myself. I was like, oh my gosh, two of my favorite things to talk about. What better, what better video for me to film? So if you guys are interested in some basic AF palettes, stay tuned. First, if you have yet to subscribe to my channel and you like project painting content, palette themed content, or just chit chatting about makeup, I'd love if you'd consider subscribing before moving on. And other than that, let's jump into the video. I tried to dress as basic as possible today. I have my black tank top on. The only thing not super basic is my lips. But I even have one of my basic AF palettes on my eyes today. The only thing that could possibly make this video better was if I was sipping a pumpkin spice latte, which I know the fall candles at Bath & Body Works are out. I am not yet certain if fall drinks are out. I wouldn't be surprised if they are, and I'm actually driving home today to celebrate my mom's birthday, so perhaps I need to make a Starbucks or a Caribou run and see if I can pick me up some sort of pumpkin spiced something. Okay, you guys, I am not ranking these palettes. I just have my top 11 in front of me. The thought of having to rank my basic AF babies, I don't have it in my heart to do that today. So we're just gonna be talking about them in no specific order. Maybe I'll actually start though with the ones that are limited edition. I think I only have two. So you can't get these anymore, but it would have been wrong of me to film this and not talk about these palettes. So up first, did we know I was going to be talking about the NARS Summer Solstice palette? And ooh, let me preface this by saying what's basic to me may not be basic to you, and what's basic to you may not be basic to me. So these are just most of these are brown palettes, whether it be cools, neutrals, or warms. A lot of them are just brown eyeshadows. There's one mauve palette, mauve-y, pinky. But up first, I have my NARS Summer Solstice palette. This was my first experience with NARS shadows, and I freaking fell in love with this eyeshadow palette. I will say their Orgasm Rising palette, if you can still get that, that was the most palette I know of that they've released. That is very similar to this palette. I do like this one just a hair more because I really like this shade right here. This shade is such a beautiful sparkly lid topper, and then I love this bottom shade as well, but I am getting very similar looks every single time that I'm reaching into this palette, and it's usually basic AF summer girl makeup. Okay, and then the other limited edition palette is my Natasha Denona Gold palette. Now, Alter Ego does make a dupe to this palette. I don't know if it's still available. If it is, I will link that down below. I also do have an affiliate code now with Alter Ego, which is super exciting. No pressure to shop at all, but if you're looking for this color story, that would be potentially something to check out. This is actually not basic AF, but it's a ton of browns. It's a ton of different shades of browns, but then you have some fun pops of green and gold and even pops of blue. So basic, but with a pop, basic with a twist. She's basic, but she's unique too, just love this palette so much. A palette that is basic AF that I absolutely love but do not reach for enough is my Persona Identity palette. I have talked about this palette a lot on my channel, so I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it is so beautiful. The metallic shimmer shades in this palette are so smooth on the eye. If you have crepey dry eyelids, I highly recommend this formula because they're so intense. They are gonna pack a punch. So if you don't want them to pack a punch, I don't know that I would recommend this, but they're gonna pack a punch and they're not gonna look crepey. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? I just absolutely love this formula. The mattes are really easy to work with, and I just think it's an overall beautiful palette. It's basic, but then you have a couple just little pops of something different too with the purple and the orange. So I do still have the old packaging. This is packaged in something different now, just so you know. Ooh, this is another one. I think you can still get this palette, but I'm not 100% certain, and it is the ColourPop Wild Child palette. I was going back and forth between whether or not to choose the Wild Child or the Going Coconuts, but I will say I personally am more excited when I reach into Wild Child than Going Coconuts. So I chose this one. I think if you want a really deep, sultry, warm brown smoky eye, you pretty much can't beat this palette, especially when you consider the price point. I think it's so beautiful. It is the like top tier ColourPop quality. The mattes are so easy to work with. And I absolutely love the shade Fierce as just like this metallic shimmery goodness on the eyes. I also like Feisty for more of like a satin outer third shade as well. It's such a good palette. I don't talk about this one enough, but when you're looking for a basic AF warm brown sultry eye for patio drinking in the summer or what have you, I highly recommend this. And speaking of summer patio drinking, this is like a go-to for me as well, but this is like an all year round go-to palette, especially if I'm like literally on the go. There was a day that I was working and then ended up going out to Topgolf with friends after work, and I brought this palette with me to work so I could like change my makeup and do like a little more, like a little something something. It's just so freaking easy, and you can get a look that looks like you spent a lot of time doing, but like you spent 5 minutes on it. I love doing this shade as like a transition shade, deepening up with this matte shade, and then going in with this like greeny reddy gold sort of shade all over the eye. Love it so much. Very basic, but just top tier. Such a good palette, the Mini Nude from Natasha Denona. Another really small palette, I was going between this stack right here as well as the Chocolate Dahlia stack, but I went with the Kaja Forest Night little stack because the top shade right here is this like, it's one of those like chunkier metallics. Ooh, and I'm finding that I do kind of have to warm this one up a little bit. It used to be a little bit creamier. There it is, swatched right there. It is super metallic and textured and just gives that like wabam sort of look on the eyes. So if you like something a little bit more subtle and subdued, I may recommend the basic AF Kaja Chocolate Dahlia stack. That's like a little bit more tame. But I love this one because it gives you like a little something extra, like, you know, just a little something something. Easy to toss in a bag, like if you're running to a girlfriend's house to have like, get ready for like a basic AF girls night, you know? It's good. It's good, it's little, we love it. Typically we don't like love little things, but like when it comes to like this, we love little, you know? Another little makeup item that I absolutely love is the Rowan 1111 quad. Where do I begin? This is such a great little quad. This is more of a companion palette or little quad to me, something that I like to pair with like mauve eyeshadows, but this chunky textured first shade right there, the swatch is not going to do it justice, but it adds just something so special to the lids, so sparkly, again kind of that like textured metallic look. And it is just so pretty. I also love all the other shades within this palette. You can do a full look. You can do a full look with whatever. I can create a full look with this. Do I prefer to pair it like 1 or 2 shades with a different palette? Yes, but for like the perfect basic companion to add a little something extra to a look, I absolutely love this one from Rowan the 1111. I also love the 75 degrees, and I've been testing the Mood Forever too, which is so beautiful. So just highly recommend the Rowan quads. I couldn't not mention the Tartlette in Bloom palette. This is a palette that I've actually decluttered in the past because my palette was getting so old, and repurchased because I missed this so much. It doesn't really get much more basic than this, folks. Like, it does not get much more basic than this, but this is just such a staple, great palette for any makeup collection. Whether this be your only palette, whether you have 500 palettes, this is such a good one to have, because for travel, for days that I just don't want to think about my makeup, I want something quick, simple, and easy. Like, I have options, but it also lays it out in a way that like it basically creates the eyeshadow look for me. I don't have to think about what I want to do with my eyeshadow. I can just follow along the columns or the rows, whatever it might be. Such good quality. Love this palette so much. It's such a good one. We know it's basic, but it's a great one. The eyeshadow palette that I have on my eyes today is the Natasha Denona Glam palette, and I am kicking myself for waiting so long to purchase this palette because I get it. Like, I get the hype, I get it. Again, it's boring. Again, it's basic. It's cool browns. And I feel like I've waited so long, one, because this reminded me of the ABH Sultry palette, which I had, but two, I was like, I have these colors a million times over. But to have them curated in this way, in this palette, I just absolutely adore it. I love Natasha Denona shadows. I love her formula. So, and I also just feel like with my complexion overall, like, cool tones are a better option for me. I love my warm tones, but I feel like in general, cool tones just look more flattering on my skin tone. So if you are like me and you've had your eye on this one and you've been like going back and forth and you're like, I don't need it, it's worth it. It is worth it. I get that it looks very similar probably to so many other things in your collection, but it is such a good palette in my opinion. And then we have two left. So I have the Patrick Ta Major Dimension 1 palette. Again, I love me a warm brown. I absolutely love the addition of the cream shadows in this palette. Something a little bit different and something I personally didn't think I would get much use out of, didn't think I was gonna love it, didn't think I would get use out of the cream shadows. But in the summertime, when I am looking for just a shadow in the crease, I reach into this shade right here quite frequently. I love that you have such a great range of mattes. You go from deep to very light. And then I also love the top row. You have some very different, unique, and interesting textures. They're not all just like metallic shades. You have some satins, you have some like textured chunky glitters that are going to be super poppy on the eyes. But I just really love that you have a great mixture of textures and tones within this palette. I do know that this palette is more expensive, but I personally think it is worth it, especially if you want just like that one staple go-to warm neutral palette in your collection. This could be it. Like, this could be it. It is such a good one. Highly recommend this one from Patrick Ta. And then my final basic AF palette that I love just so dearly is my Artist Couture Supreme Nudes palette. We know I've talked about this palette quite a bit on my channel. I love this one because it's like basic, but also you have, you know, you have a green, which I love me a green. You have this like mustardy, poopy sort of shade, which is just a fun like grungy addition. And then you have some deep shades, you have some really great mid-tone shades, some lighter shades, and some really beautiful, very smooth in texture. Again, the texture of some of these like satins, satin shimmers, metallics are similar to the Persona in that they're just so smooth on the eyes. They're not going to look crepey. If you have more mature lids, I feel like this would be a really great option for you. I've mentioned many times, but I do love the packaging for the Artist Couture Supreme palettes just because it's so sleek, easy to travel with. I travel with these palettes all the time, or this one specifically all of the time. I also have the Supreme Bronze, which is beautiful. I just personally prefer these Supreme Nudes. And that would be my final number 11th favorite basic AF neutral palette in my collection. Would love to know, what are some of your top tier favorite basic AF palettes? What are you pulling out for basic season? What basic thing, whether it be like pumpkin spice lattes, fall themed candles, what basic thing are you most looking forward to this fall season? I would love to hear from you guys in the comments below. Other than that, thank you guys so much for sticking around to watch today's video and for supporting my channel as you guys always do. I love you guys so much, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye.